I'm in Newport today on the coast, and just like I came here last year in June, I'm here today to escape the heat. It's not as bad as it was then when the temperature got up to like 109 Fahrenheit, but the temperature's still going to be close to 100 Fahrenheit in Corvallis today. So I'm here in Newport to escape the heat. And much like in May, I'm going to be going south, so I'm waiting for a bus to go south to another coastal town. Here on the shelter, they have a bus schedule of the bus I'm going to be taking, and something that can be a little bit confusing for outsiders is they just use local landmarks. So Espresso 101, Post Office, Lakeside Market, Dollar General, Ray's Market, of course. Which is totally fine, you know, for people who live in these towns and, you know where these places are. But for an outsider, when I look at this schedule, I don't even know what city these places are. So it's a little bit harder to follow for me. Passing through Newport, where we have been before. I've reached my destination, Yachats, Oregon, on the coast, and I've never really been here before, so I'm going to go check out what is going on in town. So I've been here all of 2 minutes. I can already say I like Yachats. Like a lot of smaller towns on the coast, we have a market, a small grocery store, not really a supermarket. Good place to get lunch. This is my lunch. If you're a tourist, maybe not a great place to shop for locals, so they probably go to Florence or maybe all the way up to Newport. That's something I've mentioned before. Really nice town for tourists, which is what I am, so I'm going to go enjoy it. This is what I came for. The ocean, and I'm going to go on a path, but not this path because this is not a path. I'm going to head back up that way a little bit and then walk along a path between the town and the ocean. This is Yachats State Park, and even though the state park is literally this bathroom, this sign, this parking lot, and like 3 or 4 benches, this is a state park. Between Brookings and Astoria, there are dozens and dozens of state parks, very popular, and most of them, like we thought was Yaquina Bay Lighthouse State Park, are really not that spectacular. They don't have a lot of facilities, but they don't have to because they have the ocean. And like along a lot of the Oregon coast, the beach is not really a beach. I mean, we do have sand there. You can see the sand. But we have this really rough, rocky terrain, which, you know, a lot of people like, and I like. To quote Jean-Francois Lyotard, the beautiful has been replaced by the sublime, which is why I like the Oregon coast more than sunny, pretty beaches. The beach here is basically a solid mass of old shells. I don't know if that's coming across in the video, but all of this light colored rock is not rock, it's shells. And I'm not really clear on why that is. There's a couple of possibilities. One is that the water here could be channeling a lot of shells from offshore here, and then they stop here. So this could be just a natural channeling point. Animals could be leaving shells here. This could also be a prehistoric midden because this city has been here for 10,000 years and people have been discarding shells here. So this could be the remains of a prehistoric midden. I don't know. One thing about, just this brief view I have is you would need several archaeologists, anthropologists, ornithologists, oceanologists, geologists, etc., just to figure out, what's going on here. But I don't have to figure it out, I just have to look, because it's nice to look at. Where I am now is open to the public, so I'm not going out of bounds, but it's still a place where I'm being careful and thinking I should get back up onto the main trail. And remember not to turn my back on the ocean. That's a rookie mistake. So even though I'm a couple feet above it, I'm still in an area where I'm being really careful, of course. So now I'm walking on the sidewalk besides this road. It's a road but no traffic, a lot of homes, probably vacation homes, and I'm just going to kind of follow this path for a while. More to see. This is the library, and the librarian was very helpful, telling me a little bit about town, giving me some guidance, which I'm going to follow. Gonna continue on my path. Look at all that fog blowing over the hills. And normally, in the winter, I get really tired of the fog and mist and damp. And today, it's just the most lovely thing imaginable. I am still walking on this trail called the 804 Trail on the north side of town. And I'm still next to the ocean, which is still rocky and very fierce. And it feels pretty wild, even though I'm really still in the middle of town. This is Smelt Sand State Park, and this is just about a mile north of Yachats State Park. And I wonder if that's just a naming convention, whether they're still administratively related, because, you know, the only difference is we have a different parking lot, a different bathroom building, and a different path that's connected to the other path. So I don't really know if these are actually two separate state parks, whatever that means, or if these are just two named locations of the same unit. It's an interesting question to me, maybe not an interesting question to everybody. So one thing I haven't specifically mentioned in some of these videos, but does deserve some comment, is that this was obviously a native area before Europeans came here. And a lot of times I don't want to comment on that because I don't really know. And sometimes the information is kind of unclear. And like with this town of Yachats, I just did some cursory research, and from what I could tell, it's not even clear whether Yachats was the name of the Salish people who lived in this area or of the Alsea people who lived in this area and also inland, or whether it was a shared name. And it's an interesting story because the Salish people mostly lived around the Puget Sound and then in inland Washington all the way to Montana. And so Salish people living here, it was kind of an outpost among other language groups and other cultural groups. And so, like, I would like to say something about that, but I don't really know. And so also I don't want to comment on other people's cultural history that I don't understand. So instead, I just comment on what I can see, such as these are really big waves. Here is something I can see, but I might not want to comment on, which is we have a large resort house reserved for Airbnb, which is the thing on the Oregon coast. People want to visit, so there's a lot of homes that are reserved solely for rentals, or almost sometimes solely, sometimes mostly for rentals. And that kind of presents a contradiction because there's all these fancy buildings that you can rent for a night. And for service workers and, you know, the people who work in the buildings here, or work in the businesses here, Sometimes it's really hard to find all the workers in that hotel resort, for example. Where do they all live? And sometimes like one night's rental in an Airbnb would be a retail worker's monthly rent. So kind of a contradiction here on the Oregon coast. This sign says there are whales present. I might be lucky enough to see one, but also we have limited visibility, so if they're too far off coast, I wouldn't see them even if I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. So earlier I said there's a lot of natural history and human history all tied up together, and I don't know exactly how it's connected, but I think it is connected. So here we have all these basalts. We have this rocky underwater lava that erupted underwater, became these flat basalts. And that really kind of delineates where this region is, delineates the natural geography and the human geography. As far as like European settlement, you know, when the northern coast was settled by Europeans, this is kind of one of the last towns along the northern coast. And I asked, you know, that was one of the things I was talking to the librarian about. He said that still to this day, this town, which is on the border between Lincoln County and Lane County, that they really do look at this area as kind of an extension of the northern coast of the Newport area and not of the area to the south, because these basalts and this, you know, this specific type of unique landscape really separate things. And I'm kind of talking about stuff I don't totally understand, but my main point is that this natural environment does influence the human history of this area in prehistory and then European settlement and to today. So here at the north end of the trail, we did come to a traditional sandy beach. And this beach continues north, it says, until Waldport. So I could walk to Waldport, but I'm not going to do that because I have a bus to catch. Instead, I'm going to go up this staircase and head inland. So I got off the beach and I'm on Highway 101 right now, going back towards town. And this is kind of, yeah, you know, beautiful beach, beautiful downtown, but then outside of it, you know, you do have some of this like typical highway that's not really pretty, and also for me, not super safe. I'm trying to walk away from the road. I am looking for this botanic preserve, and this tiny little sign is the only way to know where it is, which is apparently up this gravel road. So let's go find the trail. So this is a public footpath on private property, and this connects to another trail, I believe. And let's see what's in here, if I can figure out how to open the gate. There we go. Okay, let's go. And I said this before when I went to both Waldport and Depot Bay, is that very quickly, once you leave the coast and the coast ecosystem, you are entering a very different ecosystem. It's still related to the coast because you have a exchange of species and food sources, but it feels very different very quickly, and a lot of different diversity within that diversity as well. So as far as I understand it, this being a botanic preserve, these plants are at least semi-cultivated. They're native, but they're also probably planted to accentuate what would naturally be the native species here. I don't actually know to what degree, though, to what degree this is a natural forest, or to what degree this is a landscape garden. So I won't make a judgment. I'll just appreciate it because it's nice to be here. So now I'm on another trail. This is a public trail, and I think this is much closer to being a natural forest. This is what the close inland forest looks like. So here, still on the trail, and we have a staircase. And little things like that, you know, just having a staircase and having a few tendings and groomings of the trail. I don't like that. That's not where I want to be. Okay. This is where I want to be. I'll leave that in to show, you know, even though I'm narrating this, I don't really know where I am or where I'm going. To return to my point, having just like a little amount of grooming on the trail really changes the experience. Kind of makes me feel more safe and settled because this is prepared for me. And trails are at a variety of levels of preparation, from, you know, wide asphalt trails up to, as I've said in other videos, trails where I don't know they're trails and they just disappear and then I'm trapped in quicksand. And this one is kind of in the middle and I kind of know where I'm going. And it's going uphill. Okay, I'm going to continue. If we zoom down there, we can see I'm like 500 feet from the road. Feels like more though. At least the staircase lets me know I am on the right trail, or one of the right trails. Never know when it's going to disappear or go somewhere I don't know where it's going. Another thing that is different here compared to some trails, again, compared to say the Depot, Bay, and Waldport trails, is the forest here is a lot more open. The understory is not crowding in on me. And that could be due to a lot of things. It could be because this soil here, this slope, is steeper, it's better drained, so there's not quite so much as groundwater. There's also a very good chance that this is maintained as an open forest artificially, that the undergrowth have been cut back. But there are a lot of microclimates and microbiomes just within, you know, two areas that might look alike. They might be very different. So this does look and feel different than other trails I've taken on the Oregon coast. And actually in a favorable way. I kind of like being able to see to my sides and in front of me. So along with, you know, what we saw as kind of a maintained native forest, we also have a lot of invasive plants, pretty common on the coast. Perfect weather for invasive plants, including, of course, the Himalayan blackberry. Big thickets of it over there. I'm back in the part of the town that has a sidewalk, which is always nice. And the temperature hasn't really changed since I got here. It's the middle of the day now. In Corvallis, it's pushing 100 or over 100. Here, 65 Fahrenheit, foggy with a nice breeze. Might be a bad surprise when I get back home, but for now, I'm just enjoying my time here. So it's also the middle of the day, and a lot of tourists from here. And I asked somebody at the visitor center, said tourists, both, you know, local tourists, people doing what I'm doing, coming from the valley to Cape Heat, and also people coming from far away. Most of the license plates say Oregon. Could be rented cars. A lot of kind of hard to find a place to park, and also kind of hard for a pedestrian, which is one of the things about nice little tourist towns, is once the secret is out, they can get kind of congested. So what's the prognosis? Is this real or showbiz? Live amongst no roses. You know, I've had a pretty good day today, and so I just wanted to focus on what's an attractive, fun little town with a lot of beautiful natural places. There's still a lot of aspects here, you know, a lot of problems like any community, and I just didn't feel like reiterating those, which are things I've mentioned before. You know, but you still have problems with a little bit of isolation, lack of economic opportunities, lack of services. But I don't have to think about those things today. And I'm just going to go home. Hopefully it won't be too hot when I get home. Waiting on a bus in 15 minutes. It'll take me about 2 hours to get home from here. Back in Newport, going north. So this great idea I had of coming to the coast to cool off, I was not the only person who had that idea. So 101 here is pretty busy. Not quite clogged, but pretty busy. So one thing about these schedules, I probably mentioned this before, kind of like I got here an hour early, an hour before the bus leaves back to Corvallis, and really not enough time to do anything here. Don't want to go too far from the station. It's also kind of a long way to wait. But you know, I'm kind of tired. It's a nice day, so I've just been waiting here. I actually did go to the health food store, get some things, so not a total waste. And also, the later the bus picks me up, the later I get home. So when I get home around 7 o'clock, hopefully it'll be cool. And my bus should be coming from over there any minute. I'm back in Corvallis, and the first thing is it's hot. Feels at least 100. Interestingly, during the very bad heat wave, the heat dome, June of last year, when I came back, I said it didn't seem too hot. This actually seems hotter than that, but it probably isn't. Anyway, another place gone to. One thing to mention is that, like, the trips I'm taking this summer aren't just kind of like random whims. I have like a list, and as I learn more about Oregon, as I see more places, it's a double-edged sword because you know, it's nice to go there, but also it does take a little bit of the mystery out of going to these places that before they were just kind of a name on the map or something. And it's just, I guess, part of life is that your experience makes things wider, but also kind of takes the mystery away. I don't really know what else to say about that. I'm going to go home and try to stay cool.